The scream came from the kitchen. A bottle shattered. Customers gasped as police flooded the restaurant, boots pounding tile, guns raised. The head chef didn't run. He stood perfectly still behind the counter, apron spotless, a faint smile on his lips. "Marco Bellini," an officer barked. "You're under arrest." Marco slowly raised his hands. "Dinner isn't finished yet," he said calmly. The crowd stared in shock. This was Red Ember, the most exclusive restaurant in the city. Reservations booked 6 months out. Celebrities, politicians, critics. Everyone ate here. No one expected this. Years earlier, Marco Bellini was invisible. He cooked in back kitchens, underpaid, ignored, mocked by chefs half as skilled as he was. "Talent doesn't matter," his old boss once told him. "People come for the feeling." That sentence stayed with him. One night, alone in a borrowed kitchen, Marco slammed his fist on the counter in frustration. The knife slipped. Blood ran down his palm and dripped into the pot simmering on the stove. He froze. The aroma changed. When he tasted it, his breath caught. The flavor was deeper, warmer, alive. The next day, he served it quietly to 3 customers. They all came back. "Whatever you did," one woman whispered, gripping the table, "don't ever change it." Marco didn't ask questions. He experimented. A cut finger here, a few drops there. The effect was undeniable. People lingered. They laughed more. They ordered more. They tipped more. They returned sooner. When Red Ember finally opened, the city went mad. "This food makes me feel seen," one regular said. "I dream after eating here," another laughed nervously. Marco listened, learned, adjusted. Soon his own blood wasn't enough. He chose carefully. People no one would miss. Drifters, runaways, men who slept near the market. He never rushed, never panicked. He was clean, methodical, and powerful. Across town, Health Inspector Lina Ruiz sat in her car, staring at Red Ember's glowing sign. "I don't like it," she muttered. Her partner frowned. "It's spotless, passed every inspection." "That's what scares me." Inside, Marco greeted her warmly. "Inspector Ruiz, an honor." She studied his eyes, too calm, too controlled. As she ate, a strange heaviness settled in her chest. The food was incredible, but something beneath the flavor made her uneasy. "What's your secret?" she asked casually. Marco smiled. "Attention?" That night, Lena couldn't sleep. She dreamed of kitchens, knives, red hands. The next weeks, she noticed patterns. Customers who stopped coming complained of anxiety, cravings, headaches. Some begged to be let back in after being banned for bad behavior. "This place is doing something to people," Lena said to her supervisor. "Careful," he replied. "That restaurant feeds donors." Marco noticed her questions. He adjusted the menu. One evening, a homeless man's sister burst into Lena's office, eyes wild. "My brother vanished," she cried. "He worked near that restaurant." Lena listened, and finally understood. She returned to Red Ember unannounced, slipping into a back hallway she hadn't seen before. A locked door, new tiles, a faint metallic smell. Marco's voice came from behind her. "You shouldn't be here." She turned slowly. "What's in there?" He looked at her for a long moment, then sighed. "People always want to know." That night, if this story is pulling you in, pause for 1 second, like this video, and subscribe. Because what comes next is where obsession turns into horror. Lena didn't run. She called for backup instead. Marco served her a final dish himself, watching her carefully as she ate. Her hands shook, her vision blurred. "What did you put in this?" she whispered. "Truth," Marco said softly. Sirens wailed outside. The basement door was forced open. Freezers, records, evidence no one could explain away. As Marco was dragged past screaming customers, he laughed. "They loved it," he said calmly. "I just gave them what they were hungry for." And even as the doors closed, some diners remained seated, confused, craving, empty. Lena collapsed to her knees as officers pulled her away from the table. "Get her water," someone shouted. Marco didn't resist as they cuffed him. He looked around the dining room one last time. Half the customers stared in horror. The other half looked lost, angry, confused, empty, like something had been taken from them. "You're making a mistake," Marco said calmly to the arresting officer. "They'll come back." The basement revealed everything. Hidden freezers behind false walls, carefully labeled containers, journals detailing quantities, reactions, cravings, names crossed out in red ink, dates, adjustments. "This isn't cooking," an officer muttered. "This is control." Lena sat wrapped in a blanket, shaking. "He wasn't just feeding them," she whispered. "He was conditioning them." Outside, the crowd grew restless. "I need my reservation," a man yelled. "I don't care what he did," another woman cried openly. "Please just let him finish my meal." Marco watched from the back of the police van, eyes gleaming with something close to pride. In interrogation, he was polite, cooperative, almost amused. "Why blood?" the detective asked. Marco tilted his head. "Because it's honest." "That's not an answer." "It is," Marco insisted. "People pretend they want art, love, passion. What they really want is intensity. Blood carries it, fear, desire, memory. I just learned how to season it." "You killed people," Marco shrugged. "People disappear every day. I gave their absence meaning." Word spread fast. Red Ember was shut down. News stations camped outside. Social media exploded. Some demanded Marco's execution. Others defended him. "He made me feel alive," one former customer said on camera. "Since they closed the place, I can't eat. I can't sleep." Doctors began seeing patients suffering withdrawal-like symptoms, cravings, depression, obsession. Lena watched the reports with dread. "What if he's right?" she asked her supervisor. "What if he changed them permanently?" The trial was chaos. Marco never denied anything. "I never forced anyone," he told the court. "They came willingly. They paid. They begged." "Because you manipulated them," the prosecutor snapped. Marco smiled. "So does every ad, every drug, every politician. I was just better at it." The jury found him guilty. Life sentence. As he was led away, Marco leaned toward Lena. "You think this ends with me?" She met his gaze. "It ends today." He laughed softly. "No, it ends when they stop craving." Months passed. The restaurant remained boarded up, but people still stopped there. Some touched the door. Others stood silently, as if listening for something inside. One night, Lena walked past Red Ember alone. For a moment, she swore she smelled it again. Warm, metallic, familiar. She hurried away. In prison, Marco became quiet, withdrawn. Guards said he smiled in his sleep. One evening, a new inmate sat beside him. "You're the chef," the man said. "I heard about you." Marco glanced at him. "Did you? They say you knew how to make people want." Marco leaned closer. "I still do." The man swallowed hard. Weeks later, fights broke out in the cell block. Guards couldn't explain it. Inmates became obsessed with Marco, trading favors just to sit near him, just to hear him talk. A guard reported overhearing whispers at night. Recipes. Lena read the report and felt cold spread through her chest. She visited Marco one last time. "You don't have blood," she said through the glass. "You don't have a kitchen." Marco smiled gently. "I don't need them anymore." "Why?" she asked. "After everything. Why keep going?" "Because hunger never disappears," Marco replied. "It just changes shape." Lena stood, heart pounding. As she walked away, Marco called after her. "Tell them I said thank you." "For what?" "For choosing to taste." The prison doors closed behind her. If you stayed with this story till the end, like this video, subscribe and tell me in the comments. Do you think evil survives because it's powerful, or because people keep coming back for more? Because somewhere someone is still hungry, and they're listening.